Ava Miller arrived at the Navy SEAL training base before sunrise. The air was cold, the sky still dark, and the ground smelled like dust and ocean salt. She walked quietly, carrying only one duffel bag, her face calm and unreadable. Unlike the other recruits, she did not look around nervously or try to make friends. She moved with the kind of confidence that didn't need attention. The other trainees, all men, noticed her immediately. Not because she was a woman, there had been women before, but because there was something different about her. She didn't wear a rank badge. No insignia. No nameplate. Nothing. Just a plain uniform. To them, that was strange. Every recruit usually had something on their uniform, but Ava didn't. She looked like a ghost in the system. Some of the men whispered things like, "Maybe she's a visitor," or "Maybe she's not even supposed to be here." But one guy, Ryan, didn't bother whispering. He was tall, loud, and full of jokes. He walked right up to Ava and said loudly, "Hey, you lost? This isn't yoga class." The other men laughed. Ava didn't respond. She didn't even look at him. She just walked past him, silent. That bothered Ryan. He wasn't used to being ignored. He smirked and said again, louder this time, "Hey, I asked you a question. What's your rank? Or are you just here to hand out towels?" Still nothing from Ava. No anger. No fear. Just silence. She kept walking toward the training field as if his voice didn't exist. The quietness surrounding her made the others confused. Most new recruits tried to prove themselves on day one, but she didn't care about impressing anyone. During roll call, the instructor read out names. Every time someone's name was called, the recruit had to shout, "Sir." "Yes, sir." Ava stood straight, eyes forward, not moving. When her name was called, the instructor paused. He looked at her for a long second, not confused. More like he already knew who she was, and he didn't dare say more than necessary. He simply nodded and moved on. That small moment was strange. It made a few trainees wonder, who was she really? Training began with a long-distance run. Most recruits were panting halfway through. Some slowed down. A few even stopped. But Ava? She ran like she wasn't even tired. Her steps were controlled, steady, almost like she had done this 100 times before. She didn't look around, didn't try to compete with anyone, didn't even breathe loudly. She was focused, like a soldier already trained, not someone just beginning. Ryan, however, couldn't stop staring. He kept running beside her and said, "So what's the deal? Are you mute? Or did Daddy buy you a spot here?" Again, Ava said nothing. She didn't even flinch. Ryan cursed under his breath and sped up, trying to prove he was stronger. He lasted only a few minutes before slowing down again. Sweat dripping, breath shaking. Ava kept the same pace, calm as ever. During break time, the men gathered around, talking about how she must be someone's daughter, someone connected to the higher-ups. "No way she got here by earning it," one said. "Bet she's just here for show," another added. Ryan laughed and said, "Watch, she's probably not even ranked. Probably just a low-level recruit pretending to belong." They all believed it because Ava never reacted, and to them silence meant weakness. But the instructors didn't treat her like the others. They never shouted at her. They never corrected her stance. They never told her to try harder. They simply watched her with a strange kind of respect, the kind that comes from knowing something the rest don't. A few recruits noticed this, but they kept quiet. Others were too busy mocking her to see anything beyond their own assumptions. By the end of the first day, something was clear. Ava Miller wasn't ordinary. She didn't talk. She didn't brag. She didn't try to prove anything. Yet she performed better, moved sharper, and carried a strength that didn't need to be seen to be felt. But still, the men thought she was just a nobody with no rank. They didn't know that the silence surrounding her was not weakness. It was a shield, a warning, and a secret, because the truth about Ava wasn't missing. It was hidden, classified, and soon they were going to find out the hard way. The next morning, the trainees gathered again on the field, and the energy was different. The first day had already shown them who the loud ones were, who the strong ones were, and who the scared ones were. But Ava still remained a mystery. Quiet, calm, unreadable. She didn't try to make friends or prove anything, and that bothered people more than if she had failed. Ryan was still annoyed from the day before. He didn't like being ignored, especially by someone he believed was lower than him. He walked up to her again while everyone was stretching and said loudly, "Hey, soldier girl. I'm still waiting for your answer. What's your rank? Or do you not have one?" A couple of recruits laughed. Others just watched. They wanted to see how she would react this time. But Ava, like always, said nothing. She tied her hair, adjusted her gloves, and walked toward the drill area as if his voice was part of the wind. That silence made Ryan even more irritated. "You think you're better than us because you don't talk? Or maybe you're scared to speak?" he said, trying to provoke her. Ava didn't look at him even once. She simply continued preparing. The instructor blew the whistle. It was time for combat drills, a part of training where recruits practiced fighting skills, both armed and unarmed. This was the moment many recruits showed their strengths and weaknesses. Some were strong but slow. Some were fast but without control. Some panicked the moment they got hit. Ava stepped into the drill zone like she had done it 1,000 times. Her posture was perfect, her breathing controlled. The instructors noticed immediately. She was paired with another trainee first, a big guy named Cole who was known for his strength. The match began. Cole threw the first punch, confident he could overpower her easily. But Ava didn't just block it. She moved smoothly, like a professional fighter. In seconds, she dodged, twisted, and brought Cole down to the ground with a clean shoulder lock. No shouting, no anger, no wasted movement. The trainees watching went silent. That wasn't beginner skill. That was expert-level training. Cole got up, embarrassed. "She just got lucky," he muttered, rubbing his arm. Ryan laughed loudly and said, "Lucky? Come on, man. She probably learned that from YouTube." He was trying to keep everyone from being impressed. But then the drills continued. Ava kept winning. Not once, not twice, every time. Knife training, balance drills, weapon disarming, hand-to-hand combat. She executed each move with precision. She didn't show off. She didn't show emotion. She just did it right. Every single time. Some recruits started whispering again. Where did she learn that? She moves like she's already military. She's not a normal recruit. But Ryan still refused to accept it. He kept making jokes loudly. "Relax, boys. She's just having a good day. I can take her down easily." That's when he walked toward her and said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "All right, mystery girl. You and me. Let's see what rank you really deserve." The other recruits waited for Ava to answer. But she didn't. She just looked at the instructor, waiting for permission. The instructor said nothing at first. He looked at both of them, then nodded slowly. The match was allowed. Ryan smirked. He believed this was his moment to embarrass her, to show everyone she was just lucky. But what he didn't know was this. Ava did not fight to impress. She fought to finish. The match started. Ryan rushed at her with full force, trying to use his strength to overpower her. But Ava didn't back away. She didn't block like a beginner. She didn't hesitate. She stepped aside, redirected his weight, and dropped him flat on the ground in less than 10 seconds. The field went quiet. Ryan got up, red-faced, and tried again. He attacked harder, angrier, and within seconds, she brought him down again. This time in 6 seconds. The silence got heavier. No one laughed now. No one joked. Even the instructor raised his eyebrows. Ryan lay on the ground, shocked. Not just angry, confused. He looked up at her and asked, this time not as a joke, but as a real question. "Who are you?" For the first time, Ava looked at him directly, but she still didn't answer. She just stepped back, calm as ever, leaving him with a bruised ego and a bigger question. Now the whispers were louder, not mocking but curious. The men who made fun of her were now staring at her like she was something they couldn't understand. Because she wasn't just skilled. She was trained. And not like them. Better. Faster. Sharper. She wasn't trying to prove anything. Because she had nothing left to prove. The only question left in everyone's mind was, if she's not ranked, Why is she fighting like someone who already passed this program long ago? No one knew the answer, but someone did. And soon that someone was going to walk onto the field and change everything. The day after Ryan's defeat, the atmosphere at the training base had completely changed. Nobody laughed at Ava anymore. Nobody made jokes. Even those who didn't like her now watched her with silent curiosity. She had beaten every opponent without raising her voice, without showing off, and without even trying to prove anything. That kind of confidence was not normal for a new recruit. It was the kind of confidence you only see in soldiers who have already been through real missions. During morning drills, Ava was again the first to finish the obstacles. She climbed the rope faster than anyone, crossed the mud trench without slipping, and completed the endurance course without taking a single breath break. While others were coughing, sweating, or lying on the ground, Ava stood still like her body wasn't even tired. Some recruits started talking behind her back in a different tone now. Bro, she's not a recruit. She's something else. What if she's a spy? Or undercover? I heard sometimes the military hides the ranks of people who are on secret missions. Ryan, who was still angry from being defeated, didn't want to believe any of it. His pride was hurt. He told everyone, she just knows some tricks. That doesn't mean she's special. I'll beat her next time. But even he didn't sound confident anymore. Later that day, the instructor announced a surprise shooting test. It was a test of accuracy, speed, and control. Each trainee had to run, pick up a rifle, hit moving targets, change positions, and shoot again from different distances. It was the kind of drill that showed who had real combat skill. One by one, trainees took their turn. Some missed half their shots. Some wasted time reloading. A few did well, but nothing impressive. Then it was Ava's turn. Before the whistle even blew, she already stood in perfect firing stance. The moment the drill started, she moved with calm precision. She didn't rush. She didn't shake. Every bullet she fired hit the center. Not just once, every single time. Moving targets, long range, crouch position, low light, she hit all of them. The instructor looked stunned but didn't say a word. When she finished, her score appeared on the screen. 100% accuracy. 0 delay. 0 errors. No one had ever scored that in training. This time, nobody dared to mock her. A few recruits stared at the score, whispering, "This is not training-level shooting. This is special ops level. No normal trainee can do that." Then the biggest shock happened. After Ava finished, 2 instructors who never usually spoke to trainees walked up to her. They didn't shout at her. They didn't correct her. They nodded at her with respect. It was small, but everyone saw it. Respect from instructors wasn't given easily, especially not to someone who was supposedly a silent, low-rank recruit. Ryan finally broke his silence. He walked up to her again, but this time he wasn't joking. He wasn't laughing. He was confused, and maybe a little scared. "Why don't you tell us who you are?" he asked, staring at her. "Nobody fights like you. Nobody shoots like you. So what are you? Special forces? Intelligence? Covert agent?" Ava didn't respond with words, but her eyes showed something new. Not anger, not pride, but warning. She looked at him like she was telling him silently, "You're asking questions you're not allowed to know the answers to." Ryan stepped back, suddenly unsure of himself. Even the other recruits noticed something now. Ava wasn't arrogant. She wasn't emotional. She wasn't trying to hide because she was shy. She was silent because she wasn't allowed to speak. Whoever she was, whatever rank she held, it was clear now, she wasn't there to prove herself. She was there on purpose. And if the military was hiding her identity, that meant one thing. Her real rank was too high or too dangerous to reveal. The mystery only grew deeper when later that evening, Ava was called into the command office. Privately. No one else was ever called in alone like that. When she walked in, the base commander himself was waiting. The other trainees watched from a distance. Nobody knew what was said inside that room. All they knew was this. When she walked out, the commander walked behind her. Not in front of her. Behind. And the moment people saw that, the rumors turned into fear. Because no commander follows a recruit. They follow someone above them, someone who doesn't need to show rank, because the rank is classified. And very soon, the whole base was going to learn the truth. The next day began with a strange tension in the air. Everyone could feel it, but no one knew why. The recruits gathered on the field like always, but this time, every pair of eyes kept drifting toward Ava. Not with jokes, not with arrogance, but with a growing sense of curiosity and uneasiness. She still didn't talk, didn't laugh, didn't try to fit in, but now her silence felt powerful, not weak. Ryan, who once made jokes about her, was quieter than usual. He didn't want to admit it, but something about Ava scared him now. He kept replaying his fight with her in his head. The way she moved, the speed, the precision, it wasn't normal. It wasn't something a new trainee could do. It was the skill of someone who had been trained, tested, and deployed. The instructor announced the next training. Hand-to-hand combat round 2. This time, it wasn't just a practice match, it was a rank challenge. Each recruit had to fight one-on-one. Whoever won stayed in the circle. Whoever lost stepped out. It was a test of strength, skill, and mental focus. As expected, Ryan was the first one to step into the ring, ready to prove he could redeem himself. He defeated 2 recruits easily. His confidence began to return. He smirked again, already imagining how he would take down Ava this time. But before he could challenge her, the instructor called Ava's name. The crowd went silent. She stepped forward, calm as always, her expression unreadable. Ryan crossed his arms and watched her closely, waiting for her to slip, to fail, to show a sign of weakness. Her opponent was a tall, muscular recruit named Lucas, one of the strongest guys in the group. He was confident and respectful, not like Ryan. He didn't mock her. He bowed slightly before the match, showing basic combat respect. Ava nodded back. The fight began. Lucas attacked with full strength, using powerful punches and heavy footwork. But Ava didn't fight with force. She fought with control. She didn't block with her arms. She redirected his movement. She didn't use strength, she used timing. Within seconds, Lucas was on the ground. She didn't injure him, she disabled him. The trainees stared in shock. One of the strongest guys defeated in seconds. But it didn't end there. She fought the next opponent. Then the next. Then the next. Every match ended the same. Fast, clean, and flawless. No shouting. No ego. No wasted energy. Every time someone fell, the respect in the room grew. Then it happened. Ryan stepped forward. For the second time, he challenged her. But this time, it wasn't a joke. He wasn't smirking. He wasn't loud. He was trying to understand her now. Trying to tell himself the first match was luck. The instructor looked at Ava. She didn't react. She simply walked into the ring again. "Ready?" the instructor said. Ryan nodded. Ava didn't react. The instructor blew the whistle. Ryan attacked first, faster than before. He had been practicing secretly after his first loss. He used more force, more speed, but it didn't matter. Ava read every move. Every punch he threw, she avoided. Every attempt to grab her, she slipped away. Then in one smooth motion, she twisted his arm, used his own weight, and brought him to the ground again. In less than 8 seconds, Ryan hit the ground, breathless, staring up at the sky. This time he didn't get up angry. He got up confused, broken. The fight wasn't even close. It wasn't even fair. He now understood something. Ava didn't beat him because he was weak. She beat him because she was trained far beyond him. He sat on the ground and finally spoke, not with sarcasm, but honesty. "You're not a recruit," he said quietly. "You're something else." Ava didn't answer. She just stepped back and waited for the next fight. But the instructor stopped the drill. Because at that exact moment, the base commander walked onto the field. The moment he arrived, every soldier straightened up. Even the instructors stood tall. The commander didn't usually involve himself in training. But today he was watching. Not the recruits. Not the training. He was watching Ava. He called her forward. She walked toward him without hesitation. The recruits waited, silent, tense, confused. Then something happened no one expected. The commander, a high-ranking officer, saluted her first. Not the other way around. Every trainee froze. Ryan's eyes widened. That single action answered every question. She wasn't a trainee. She wasn't lower rank. She was above them, way above them, and whatever her true identity was, it wasn't something they were allowed to know. The commander finally turned to the recruits and said, "From this moment on, you will treat her with the respect she has already earned, long before any of you stepped onto this field." And just like that, silence turned into shock. Doubt turned into fear. Mockery turned into respect. Ava hadn't spoken a word, but her presence had spoken louder than anything. And still, her rank was not revealed, because it was classified. The moment the commander saluted Ava, everything changed. The trainees no longer looked at her like she was just another recruit. They didn't joke, they didn't whisper, they didn't even make eye contact unless necessary. The same people who laughed at her on the first day now moved out of her way when she walked past. Respect had replaced arrogance. Fear had replaced ego. And curiosity had replaced judgment. But Ava didn't act any differently. She still woke up early, trained in silence, and followed every order without arguing. She didn't start giving speeches or showing off. She didn't treat anyone badly, even the ones who mocked her. She remained the same, quiet, disciplined, focused. That silence now felt heavier than ever, like she was holding a story no one was allowed to hear. Ryan, who once insulted her, now watched her with a different expression. Not hatred, not jealousy, but confusion. He wanted to know the truth, not because of pride anymore, but because the mystery was too big to ignore. Later that afternoon, the recruits had their final drill of the day, a teamwork mission. They had to move through a forest, locate a target area, and complete a rescue simulation without getting detected. It was meant to test leadership, communication, and strategy. The instructor divided the trainees into groups. Everyone expected the commander to put Ava in charge, but he didn't. He let the recruits choose their own leader. No one spoke. Everyone looked at each other, waiting for someone to volunteer. Finally, one of the recruits pointed at Ava and said, "She should lead." Ryan stayed silent, but he didn't disagree. No one did. Even the ones who didn't like her knew she was the most skilled. Ava didn't ask for leadership, but she accepted it. She didn't give a speech, didn't shout orders like a movie hero. She just looked at the map, studied the terrain, and said in a calm voice, "We move in 2 groups. No noise. No lights. Stay low." Everyone followed. And for the first time since training started, there were no arguments, no ego, no competition, because they trusted her even without knowing who she was. When the mission began, Ava led with silent precision. She didn't walk in the front to look heroic. She walked where she needed to, always one step ahead, watching every angle, every shadow, every sound. She knew the signs of danger before anyone else noticed. She gave signals with hand gestures, not words. She guided them through mud, through trees, through darkness, like someone who had done this in real life. At one point, they heard movement from the enemy side. Ryan almost lifted his weapon to shoot, but Ava stopped him without saying anything, just a small hand signal. Not even the leaves moved when she crouched. Seconds later, 2 enemy guards passed by. If Ryan had shot, the mission would have failed. Instead, they stayed invisible. The recruits had never experienced leadership like that before. No shouting, no panic, just control. When they finally reached the target zone, Ava didn't rush. She studied the area, counted guards, timed their steps, and then gave orders fast and clear. The mission ended successfully. Not one mistake, not one alert, not one casualty. Even the instructor looked impressed, like he already knew but still needed to see it. When they returned to base, the commander was waiting. He didn't congratulate the team. He looked straight at Ava. Then he said loudly so everyone could hear, "And that, recruits, is what real field leadership looks like." The recruits looked at Ava with a new kind of respect. Not because she was strong, but because she was controlled. Not because she was silent, but because she didn't need words to lead. Ryan slowly walked up to her after everyone left. This time, no jokes, no attitude. Just honesty. "I was wrong about you," he said quietly. "I thought you were just hiding because you were weak. But you were hiding because you're above all of us." Ava looked at him, not angry, not proud, just calm. She finally spoke a few words. The first words Ryan had ever heard from her. "Respect isn't about rank. It's about actions." Then she walked away. And that one sentence hit harder than anything else. Because she was right. She never asked for respect. She earned it without saying a single word. But the biggest question still remained. Who was she really? What rank was she hiding? And why was it classified? The recruits were finally ready to know the truth. And very soon, they were going to hear it from the commander himself. The training camp had already separated the strong from the weak, but the real challenge was only beginning. Everyone thought the mysterious girl had reached her limit, but they didn't know that she had only shown a small part of her true abilities. The other trainees still looked at her with doubt, some with jealousy, some with fear, but mostly with confusion. No one could understand how a girl who stayed silent most of the time could perform better than men who had trained for years. One of the toughest drills started early in the morning before sunrise. The air was cold, the wind was sharp, and the ground was still wet from the night. The commander gave the order, a 12-mile run, carrying a 30-kilo backpack, in full gear with no brakes. Many trainees groaned. Some even whispered that this was impossible. But she didn't react. She simply tightened her backpack and started running as if she had been waiting for this moment. Halfway through the run, many trainees had already collapsed or slowed down. Some were breathing heavily, others complained about cramps, and a few even gave up. But she kept moving at the same pace, almost like her body didn't feel pain the same way as others. One of the guys tried to joke again. "Hey, mystery girl, you got rocket fuel in your blood or what?" But she didn't answer. She just passed him with calm steps, like a quiet storm. When the run ended, only 9 trainees made it to the finish line. She was the first. But the real shock came after that. While everyone else fell to the ground, trying to catch their breath, she stood straight like nothing had happened. The commander noticed, and for the first time he looked at her with a different kind of respect. Not just because she finished first, but because she didn't look tired at all. It was as if she had been trained for missions far beyond normal human limits. The next test was even more extreme. They were taken into the ocean at night, in freezing waves, to practice underwater breathing and silent swimming. Many sailors fear this drill because it pushes the body to the edge of survival. But she entered the water like she belonged there. No hesitation, no fear. One of the instructors, a former Navy SEAL diver, kept watching her closely. He later said that her breathing pattern was not like a normal person. It was controlled, calm, like she had done this 1,000 times. In the water, the waves got stronger, and some trainees panicked. One of them started drowning. The instructors were about to jump in, but before they could react, she was already gone under the water. Within seconds, she appeared again, dragging the drowning trainee back to the surface. No panic, no struggle. Her movements were fast and precise, the kind only elite rescue divers know. When they reached the shore, the rescued trainee hugged the sand, gasping for air. She just stood there quietly while the others stared at her in disbelief. Someone finally whispered what everyone was thinking. Who is she really? Later, in the mess hall, the rumors exploded. Some said she was a spy. Others said she was from a secret military unit. A few believed she wasn't even a soldier, but a government experiment. No one had proof, but everyone agreed on one thing. She wasn't a normal recruit. That night, the Navy SEAL who had joked about her rank tried talking to her again, this time without mocking. "Hey, thanks for saving Kyle today," he said. She just nodded. He expected her to say something back, maybe even smile, but she stayed quiet. He finally asked, "Why don't you ever talk? What are you hiding?" She looked at him once, but her eyes didn't show anger or fear, only something deeper, something like experience, loss, or memories she could never share. Then she walked away without saying a word. The SEAL felt something he had never felt before in training, respect mixed with curiosity. Not because she was strong, but because she was unreadable. And then came the final confirmation. The next morning, a high-rank commander arrived, not someone regular, someone classified. When he saw her, he stood straight and saluted first. Everyone froze. A commander saluting a trainee? That never happens. The SEALs looked at each other, shocked. The commander said one sentence that changed everything. Her identity is classified. That's all you need to know. Silence. No one dared speak again. And from that moment, no one asked her rank. No one joked. No one even dared to doubt her anymore. Because now they understood. She wasn't there to prove herself. She was there to be tested, and they were the ones being tested against her. After the commander's surprising salute, the atmosphere in the camp completely changed. The trainees who once made fun of her now stayed silent in her presence. No more jokes. No more doubts. Even the strongest men, who earlier tried to show off, now moved aside when she walked past. It was like her silence had suddenly become louder than any words she could ever speak. But even after the salute, she didn't act proud, arrogant, or different. She still ate alone, trained alone, and spoke only when necessary. The only thing that changed was the way others looked at her. Before, they looked at her with confusion or annoyance. Now they looked at her with respect, and a little fear. The next phase of training was something nobody wanted. The Hell Drill. A 48-hour non-stop mission simulation with no sleep, no comfort, and no mercy. It tested not just the body but the mind and soul. Many soldiers had quit during this stage in past years. But this time, everyone wanted to see what she would do. The drill began with a forced march through mud, thorns, and swamp water up to the waist. The instructors shouted, insulted, and pushed the trainees to break their spirit. Some men were trembling because of cold, others barely able to walk, but she kept moving with steady steps. Her face showed no emotion, like she had shut off pain completely. At one point, they had to carry a giant log as a team. The log was so heavy that even 6 strong men struggled to lift it. But when one of them slipped and fell, the whole weight shifted. The log almost crushed a trainee, until she stepped forward, held it alone for 3 seconds, and let the others catch it again. That moment became a legend. No one had ever seen someone that strong, especially someone of her size. But things got harder. After 18 hours with no rest, they were taken into the forest for a night ambush drill. The forest was dark, silent, and full of hidden traps placed by instructors. Everyone moved in teams, but she was assigned a solo route. Some thought it was unfair. Others whispered that it was a test meant only for her. 2 hours passed. Most teams triggered traps, alarms, or got spotted. Only 2 people completed the mission undetected. One was a SEAL sniper with 7 years of field experience. The other was her, and she did it faster. When she returned, covered in mud and leaves, one of the SEALs couldn't stop himself from asking, "Where did they train you?" She didn't answer. She simply checked her equipment, ate a protein bar, and waited for the next task. The 30th hour of the Hell Drill was when things started breaking inside people. A trainee punched a tree out of frustration. Another cried quietly in the corner. One even begged to quit. But she stayed calm, sitting in silence, eyes closed, saving her strength. The instructors secretly observed her the whole time. They weren't testing her ability anymore. They were trying to understand it. Finally, the last challenge arrived. A hostage rescue drill with real-time pressure, blank bullets, flashbangs, and dangerous terrain. Team leaders were assigned. But before the instructors could name one, the high-rank commander from earlier stepped in and said, "She leads this mission." Everyone turned to her. Even she looked surprised for the first time. Not because she couldn't do it, but because she had always avoided attention. But she accepted. No speeches. No big words. Just a nod. The mission began in total darkness. The team moved through abandoned buildings, old crates, rusted fences, and narrow passageways. She gave hand signals, silent instructions, and perfect timing. She knew exactly when to move and when to stop, like she had done this in real combat before. At one point, the team was stuck, enemy guards on both sides. A wrong move would get them killed in the drill. She didn't panic. She used a broken mirror piece to check corners, then threw a small stone in the opposite direction to distract the guards. While the guards turned, she moved in lightning speed, disarmed one, and signaled the team to advance. The mission was a success. Not one shot fired at her team. 0 casualties. Clean extraction. When they finished, every trainee, every strong, loud, proud man, looked at her like she was something unreal. And then the commander said something even more shocking. She has more combat experience than everyone here combined. That line hit them harder than anything. They understood now. She wasn't learning to be like them. They were training to maybe be close to what she already was. Later, when everyone finally got to rest, the same SEAL who once mocked her came and sat beside her. He didn't joke this time. He simply asked, "Why are you really here?" She looked at him, calm as always, and replied with her first full sentence since training began. "Because the real war hasn't started yet." And before he could ask what she meant, she walked away, leaving only questions and a new kind of respect behind her. The next morning, the base felt different. Everyone had passed the hell drill, but nobody was talking about their own success. They were all talking about her, the girl who never showed her rank, the one who defeated the loudest recruit in seconds, the one who led a mission better than trained soldiers, the one the commander himself saluted. Even the instructors, who were known for being strict and emotionless, quietly admitted that they had never seen someone like her. She didn't just survive the training. She made it look easy. But she still remained silent. She did not celebrate or act proud. She didn't walk around like she was superior. She tied her boots, cleaned her gear, and trained again as if nothing special had happened. That was the part no one could understand. Most people, after being praised or recognized, start talking more, showing off, or taking advantage. But she stayed exactly the same. Calm, quiet, focused. The commander called all the trainees into the briefing hall for final announcements. Everyone stood in perfect formation. The air was heavy because they knew something big was coming. The commander walked in, carrying a file with a red stamp on it. Classified. He didn't waste time. He looked at the trainees and said, "All of you completed this program. But there is one person here who did not come to learn. She came to observe." Everyone knew who he meant, but they still stood silent. He continued, "Her missions are not written in any report you can access. Her rank is not shown because it is above what this base is allowed to display. Everything about her is restricted because she works where names and ranks don't exist." The room was so quiet that even breathing sounded loud. But then the commander turned slightly toward her and said, "You don't have to stay here anymore. Your transfer orders are ready." She stood still, not surprised, not emotional, like she already knew this moment would come. One trainee finally asked the question everyone wanted to ask. "Sir, if she's so highly ranked, why did she train with us?" The commander looked at the man and answered, "Because sometimes the best soldiers must remember what the beginning feels like. Even the strongest need to see where others start." Then he looked at her again and added, "And because her next mission needs someone who understands both sides, war and humanity." Those words confused the trainees even more, but they felt true. She wasn't just a fighter. She was something more, something they weren't trained to become yet. As she prepared to leave, Ryan, the one who mocked her on the first day, slowly walked up to her. No ego, no jokes this time, just respect. He said only 2 words, "I'm sorry." She looked at him for a moment and replied, "Don't be sorry, be better." It was not an insult. It was advice. Then she turned to walk away, but before she could exit, the commander called her name, her real name, which no one had heard before. Lieutenant Commander Ava Hale. Everyone froze. Not just a soldier. Not just a special operator. A lieutenant commander higher than almost every officer there. And not only that, her file had classified missions written on it. That meant she had done things the world would never know about. Saved lives, stopped threats, fought battles that didn't make it into news or history books. The trainees suddenly realized something important. They didn't mock a weak recruit. They mocked a hero who wasn't allowed to tell her own story. She walked toward the exit gate, and before she left, she looked back at them one last time. Not to show pride, not to show anger, but to leave them with something they would remember for the rest of their lives. She said, "Rank matters only on paper. Respect is earned by actions." Then she left, disappearing into the world where soldiers live in shadows instead of medals. The training base slowly returned to normal, but nothing was the same anymore. The trainees trained harder. They complained less. They stopped judging new recruits. They learned that the quietest person might have the loudest history. Ryan especially changed. He stopped making fun of people and started helping them. He told new trainees, "Never judge a soldier by what you see, because what you don't see might be classified." Some called her a ghost. Some called her a legend. But for the ones who trained beside her, she became something more. A reminder that real strength never needs to brag. Real warriors don't need applause. And the most dangerous soldiers in the world are the ones you underestimate.